Hi guys, welcome back to Gen Chem with Dr. J. I'm Dr. Janita Pritchett, and in this video, we're going to be covering how to name molecular compounds. Let's get started. In the last video, we learned about the different types of compounds that exist. Remember, we learned about molecular compounds, which are those that bond through covalent bonding and typically are found with a semi-metal and non-metal or non-metal and metal together. And we also learned about ionic bonding, which ionic bonding typically will have a metal present, and they're going to be bonding together through ionic bonding. So it's important to be able to make that distinction because how we name these compounds will be based on what kind of compound it is. So this video is really focusing on naming molecular compounds, okay? And so again, you're going to first do a quick assessment and ask yourself, well, what kind of molecule is this? Or what kind of compound is this? Is there a metal present? And if you can say no, then likely you're going to be following this naming format, okay? So you're going to write the name of the first element that's present. And again, this naming system is for binary compounds, so two elements present. So you write the full name of the element that's found on the periodic table. And then you also write the name of the second element that's found on the periodic table. But when we're writing compounds, we drop the ending and add IDE as the ending, okay? And then in molecular compounds only, we need to add prefixes before each of those names to indicate how many atoms are present. And so we would have a prefix that describes the first element, and then another prefix that describes the second element. You have to remember in this position only, we never use the mono prefix. Any of the other prefixes that I'm going to show you in a few seconds can be used there, but we never use the mono prefix, okay? So the prefixes you're going to want to know are shown for you here. And a lot of these prefixes should seem very familiar to you, especially if you've taken a geometry class before. The main one that maybe is one that's a little different is the tetra one. Maybe you haven't seen that, but that tetra just really comes from four-sided things such as tetrahedrons. But so you want to be able to apply these prefixes to describe however many atoms are present in your compound. Again, remember you only use these for molecular compounds. And if there's an A in the element, you drop the, if there is a vowel that starts the letter of the element, you drop the A on these prefixes to make it flow more fluidly. So for example here, if we're naming binary molecular compound BF3, and so the very first question we ask is, well, is BF3 does it have a metal? And so we find boron on the chart, find fluorine, and we see that no, there's no metal present. And so we would first be able to write just boron. The second element, which is fluorine, we're going to drop the ending and add the IDE ending, fluoride, okay? We then need to assign prefixes for each of the elements. Well, we see there's one boron, so we may think, okay, we're going to add mono before it, and there's three fluorines, so we would add tri. But then you remember, we never use the mono in that first position. And so we then can write the full name as just being boron trifluoride, okay? And so that's the naming system for molecular compounds. So let's try these examples. So we have NO2. Again, no metal present. So we would write the first element, what we see is nitrogen. We would write the second element and drop the ending, and so it would become oxide. And then we account for the number of atoms that we see through prefixes. So nitrogen, there's one. So we would normally say mono. However, we know we never use mono in that first position. For oxygen, we would use the prefix of di because there's two of them. And then that would be our full name, nitrogen dioxide. For PCl5, again, no metal present. So we know we want to use this format. We would write the first element, which is phosphorus, followed by the second element, which is chlorine. Drop that ending, becomes chloride. And then we're going to add the prefix penta because we have 5 of those chlorines present. And that would be our full name. For this third one, we have I2F7. And so again, no metal present. So we're going to first write the name of the first element, iodine, followed by the name of the second element, drop that ending and add I, so fluoride. And we'd account for the number of atoms that we see. For iodine, we see 2 of them, so that would become diiodine. And for fluoride, I see 7, and so that would become hepta fluoride, okay? Prefixes with molecular compounds, no metal present. Now, similarly, if we can go from the formula and get the name, we should be able to go backwards and get go from the name to the formula. And so if we see something like this, dinitrogen pentoxide, we see those prefixes, so automatically we should be somewhat triggered and say, oh, this should be a molecular compound. And so I know that the prefixes are telling me how many of each element is present. So I see dinitrogen, so that tells me I have some nitrogen, and how many do I have? 2 of them. And then pentoxide, well, I have oxygen. How many? 5. And so the formula would become N2O5. So let's try these. We have dinitrogen tetraoxide. So again, I see a prefix di in nitrogen. So that tells me I have nitrogen and 2 of them. And then tetraoxide, that tells me I have oxygen and I have 4 of them. Now notice when I'm writing this molecular compound, I'm not reducing it down to an empirical formula immediately. For molecular formulas and molecular compounds, we want to show the molecular formula. We need to account for all of the atoms that are present. You'll see when we deal with ionic compounds, we actually are going to do a reducing step if able, okay? Sulfur hexafluoride. So I see just sulfur, no prefix, so that tells me it's 1. Hexafluoride tells me I have fluorine, and then I have 6 of them. Okay, so we're looking at each part individually. Up next, we have diarsenic. Arsenic symbol is AS. Be careful, a lot of students tend to put AR just because their brain is programmed to see AR and think that it should be AR, but it's actually, that would be argon. And it is diarsenic, so we have 2 of those. Trisulfide would be S3. Okay, again, look at each part individually. I hope this video helped you understand how to name molecular compounds. Be sure to come back to check out more videos. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to see more videos. See you guys in the next one. Have a great day.